stays closed until further notice. Clear the room at once.
How can you close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Vancouver Province columnist Mike Smith in for Simi Sarah today. That, of course, is that famous scene from Casablanca. This is one of the great scenes ever in Rick's Cafe. You remember when Captain Reno, when he shut down Rick's Cafe, and he goes in there, you heard him say it, he said, I'm shocked to find there's gambling going on in Rick's Cafe. At the very same time that the croupier comes up and hands him his winnings, his roulette winnings. Yeah, this is like the classic depiction of hypocrisy. The most classic pitch-perfect depiction of crass hypocrisy ever captured on the silver screen. So I just wanted to kind of play that because when you think about what's going on right now with the Kinder Morgan pipeline, and you've got a guy like Premier John Horgan just out there fighting this pipeline, just saying how terrible this Kinder Morgan pipeline would be, absolutely shocking the threat to our environment, the threat to human health, the threat to our coast. And at the same time, just like the croupier handing the roulette winnings to Captain Reno, here he is, his pension is buying up Kinder Morgan stock. I mean, how more hypocritical is there than that? You got this government going on about how terrible this pipeline is, a threat to human health, and their own pension has got 1 million shares in Kinder Morgan. Not only that, they're buying up more shares. I mean, just last fall, if you take a look at the portfolio for the MLA's pensions, they just bought up a whole bunch more Kinder Morgan shares just last fall. They bought 21,000 more shares. So at the very same time that we're fighting this pipeline and saying how terrible it is, oh, how shocking this pipeline is, at the same time, they're loading up on Kinder Morgan shares in their own pension plan. You know, it's not just Kinder Morgan. I mean, you take a look at some of the other big oil companies. I mean, you got Exxon shares in there. You got a bunch of Alberta Oil Sands Oil Company shares in the MLA pension plan. Is this hypocritical or what? I mean, you turn around saying how terrible this pipeline is at the same time you're buying up their shares. Let's talk to Kris Sims about it from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Hi, Kris.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
What are your thoughts on this? What do you think?
Well, as I mentioned to the reporter on this is crass hypocrisy. And not just hypocrisy, but it really shows the delusional thinking here. So here we have a government who can virtue signal their way around saying, oh, like you said, this is terrible, bitumen is terrible, we can't have a pipeline, oh, the humanity. In the meantime, their very livelihood depends upon said pipeline, depends upon oil and gas. And for me, what's amazing is that this shows that, maybe oil and gas are the lifeblood of our economy. Maybe oil, gas, and natural resources are the foundation of how we run here in Canada and, frankly, in North America. And, oh, amazing, so much so that government employee pensions are indexed on them.
Right.
Who's surprised? Nobody should be surprised about this. But the lesson here is for these politicians to wake up and realize just how fundamental this industry is for Canada and British Columbia.
Okay.
Almost exactly the same thing happened with New York City. New York City, their leader turned around and said, oh, we're going to divest ourselves away from oil and gas. Put the brakes on that. Guess what? All of the New York City public employees relied on oil and gas for their pensions, for their livelihoods. Why? Okay. Because that's reality.
Okay, stand by there, Kris. I'm going to get the government's reaction to this in a second. I'll play you a clip from Finance Minister Carol James, but from the world right now. Let's go back to my conversation now with Kris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation as we continue talking about the BC government pension plan being loaded up with Kinder Morgan stock here and the hypocrisy around that. I want to play you a clip here, Kris, of BC Finance Minister Carol James, because, of course, she's asked about this. What about the optics of this? Isn't this hypocritical? At the same time you guys are fighting this pipeline, you're buying Kinder Morgan stock and your own pension. Here's what she had to say.
Ultimately, they make the decision around the investments. It's a huge portfolio. We have a very good record when it comes to our pensions in British Columbia. We're known for having very good, clear standards. So the BC management pension folks make those decisions themselves. They make the investment decisions themselves, and it's been proven that they've done very well.
3 of the members are appointed by government, so people are wondering if there's a conflict of interest there.
Well, again, I don't believe that people would want politicians making the decisions about individual investments. We have professionals who do that. We have the BC Investment Corporation. They make the individual decisions, and they do the job on behalf of both the employers and the employees.
Do you think there may be a discussion now, though, about where money should be invested, considering that there's the move, certainly, from the government to move away from increased shipments?
My understanding is it's a very balanced portfolio, and those discussions happen around their table all the time.
Okay, that's BC Finance Minister Carol James explaining why her own pension is buying up Kinder Morgan stock. What do you think about what she had to say there, Kris?
Well, I think a lot of these statements of, oh, well, we don't make the decisions ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Tips. I think that's beside the point. I don't think anybody is picturing Carol James or John Horgan, standing on the trading floor, saying, buy more stock, or telling their investment broker, buy more of this. The point is that oil and gas are a fundamental reality and a lifeblood of our economy. So much so that our pensions, government employee pensions, including probably teachers' pensions, nurses' pensions, you name it, are underwritten and dependent upon natural resources, including oil and gas. The point here is to tell these politicians to just look around and accept reality, not just that they have drivers that get them to and from work, not just that all of their food and all of their clothes and all of their supplies are literally shipped and delivered to them using diesel and oil and gas, but that their very pensions, their livelihoods depend upon these things. That is the point. Not that somehow, John Horgan is picking up the red phone saying, buy more Kinder Morgan. It's just pointing out the fact that these people are ignoring reality, and it's time that they stop doing that.
Well, it's interesting that she's right when she says that the pension portfolio is managed independently. It's managed by the BC Investment Management Corporation. This is a Crown corporation that manages the pensions for public servants and for MLAs. And they do it at arm's length. There's no political meddling in it. I think that's actually a good thing. And that's the way it should, that's the way it should be. But to me, is if this pipeline poses such a threat, if it really is a threat to human health, a threat to our environment, a threat to our economy, why would you then turn around and say, oh, well, we let the professionals pour their money into this company? If they really felt it was that much of a threat to British Columbia, the fact is they could intervene if they wanted to. I mean, this is a Crown corporation that exists as a result of provincial law, provincial statute. The minister herself appoints the chair. She appoints 3 directors to the board. They could rewrite the law, and they could tell them, don't invest in this company. They could do that if they wanted to. They never will do that. They wouldn't dare.
No, of course.
They wouldn't dare do that shouldn't. Because they know their own pension and their own livelihood depends on it.
Yes, and because of that immediate reality that's staring them on their balance book face should clue them in to how important this is to the rest of us. Not just those of us who work directly within the oil sands industry, but those of us who might have companies who supply them with everything from gloves to housing to, the fact that our world runs on oil and gas. Like, look around you, people. It's the same as saying that they're going to protest the existence of electricity. It's that fundamental and that vital. It's the same thing. This would be like them protesting, blood donors and blood banks because their survival depends upon it. Thou dost protest too much. Okay. And so this is the point that we're trying to make, is that these folks are disconnected from reality, and it's really going to hurt workers and our economy if they don't wake up.
Okay, here's what I want to do, Kris. I want to jump in there, take a break, come back, and take some phone calls in the open line. Now, people have been reading about this story, you've been hearing about this story today. What do you think about this? It's our hot question of the day on Twitter, by the way, as well. If you think about the BC government's opposition to the Kinder Morgan pipeline, at the same time, the government pension fund is buying up shares in Kinder Morgan. Morgan. Is this totally hypocritical? Is it just shrewd investing? Are you not sure? Make sure you go on Twitter, at CKNW on Twitter, and vote in that hot question of the day. And give me a call on this right now. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this when you hear that the government for civil servants and politicians are loading up on Kinder Morgan shares in this pension plan? Do you think that's hypocritical? What do you think? Phone me up. Tell me what you think. 604-280-9898 is the number to call. 604-280-9898. Toll free all around BC. It's 1-877-399-9898, star 9898 on your cell. Kris Sims is my guest. This is Mike Smith. Back with your call. Stick around. All right, welcome back. Mike Smith in for Simi as we continue talking about the BC government pension plan, buying up shares in Kinder Morgan. At the same time, the government fights the Kinder Morgan pipeline. 604-280-9898, star 9898 on your cell. Kris Sims is my guest here. Tracy in White Rock. Hi.
Hi. It just makes me sick that Horgan and his cronies want to fatten up their pension on the backs of us poor folk who don't even have a pension. You know what? There's not even any words to say how disgusting this is. His words that come out of his mouth. Everyone should just shut him down right away.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you for the call. This is a great pension plan. If you take a look at the returns on that portfolio, Kris, I mean, anyone who's got a piece of the action in this pension plan, in the BC government pension plan, they should be very happy. They're getting good returns there.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And I want to be clear. We don't want them to divest or anything.
No, they're doing a good job. They're doing a great job.
Yes, because if they can make money off of private companies, great. I wish I could too. I wish I had their pension plan. But we don't want taxpayers to be on the hook if all of a sudden, they start losing money on it. So in no way, shape, or form do we want them to stop doing this. Our point is the rank hypocrisy here and the disconnection from reality.
Yeah. Garnett, hi.
I'm really getting tired of all of these broad brush statements that I hear from people that are opposed to certain items and what have you. I mean, when you say that the trade unions are opposed to the pipeline, that's absolutely false in a lot of cases. The building trades, Teamsters Union, those people are all in favor of building the pipeline. I myself am not opposed to pipelines at all. I'm opposed to shipping the raw bit that comes down. I don't know how that's going to help us with gas prices at the pumps when they can sell it for $15 to $25 a barrel more if they export it than if they have it here. What we need to have is some production here where we're actually producing it, or else we're flowing a pipeline that's flowing gas, not raw crude, that has the potential dangers that it has. In addition, I've been a trustee for over 20 years on pension plans, and be careful what people are asking for. I have an obligation as a trustee to do the very best I can to invest those funds in the most profitable way back, because that's my obligation under the Pension Standards Act, sitting on that board of trustees. And if they want us to become ethical in all of our investments of what we're doing, watch out. There's hundreds of billions of dollars invested in union pension funds. If they pulled out of half of these things, we'd have a collapse of the economy in the country.
Thank you, Garnet. I think that was a very good call. I appreciate that. I mean, you're right that not all unions are opposed to the pipeline. Yeah, some of these private sector construction unions, the steel workers or whatever, they're full gung-ho for the pipeline.
Very
I'm talking about public sector unions. It's the public sector unions, though, that are in this pension plan, like the BC Teachers Federation and the BC GEU, that have been very critical and outspoken in opposing this pipeline.
And that's because they can afford to be. They're sheltered from the realities in lots of cases. But, he's absolutely right. The trade unions and the construction working people, they're definitely in favor of it. Why?
Exactly.
Because they'd be the ones building it.
Sure. I mean, so, you got some of the other public sector unions that have been critical of the pipeline are the same ones that are benefiting from the pension investments in the pipeline company. This is where we get, that goes back around to the hypocrisy. Let's go to Brad. Hi, Brad.
Exactly.
Hey, Brad. You got 30 seconds, Brad. 30 seconds. Go.
I'm opposed to the pipeline. I think most people that are opposed to it are intelligent people. We got climate change and things we need to worry about and invest in greener energy, not pipelines to stay addicted to oil for the next 25 years. It's ridiculous.
Brad, you got the last call. You got the last word there. I appreciate the call. Kris, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
That's Kris Sims, Canadian Taxpayers. If you didn't get through on the open line, phone the Buzz line, 604-331-BUZZ, 604-331-2899. This is Mike Smith. More after this.